busy tweeting about bugles. I was in a Twitter fight about bugles. Hello, good morning, and good evening. Welcome into our sports podcast. We have a sports podcast, and it is our sports podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a mock draft. We're going to run through the picks of the first round, not the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth or the sixth or the seventh or the undrafted or the subsequent free agency period. Because I just completely get lost after the first round right now since we are filming this 3 to 4 weeks before the draft. So we're going to be doing a follow-up later on with a more updated current version of the mock draft. But as of April 7th, this is what we are going to call our mock draft. And I'm going to introduce Matt. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to get to the mock draft. We have another one planned with Mike and Alex later on before the draft, and then we may revisit this draft once we get a little bit closer and learn a little bit more. Maybe we'll go into deeper rounds. Who knows? It depends on how we're feeling. But
Definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, by all means, do you want to get started, or do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, so this is definitely some rudimentary information that we have that we're working off of. It's still relatively early in the process, trying to gather resources, do some research, get a good opinion going. But there will be a lot to learn over the next few weeks. So take everything with a little bit of grain of salt. We are not professionals. We don't do this professionally, but I'm objectively correct when I speak. So I'm gonna pass it over and see where you want to start things.
Yeah, so because we're both homers and the Ravens have the 27th pick, and I believe the Titans have the 22nd, I'm going to do odds and you're going to do evens. So that'll start me out with Trevor Lawrence. So if you're ready to start, just let me know and then we'll get started.
So you took Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a completely reasonable and understandable pick. I hope we were just gonna run through and say names without teams, context, or anything about the players.
Did I just say Trevor Lawrence without saying?
You just said I'm gonna go Trevor Lawrence, and while that is a foregone conclusion for everyone in the sports world, I think the fact that we are trying to do a podcast, maybe a little bit more of insight and reflection regarding, and also the team name, would be important when you're speaking on that. Moving on to number 2.
I think I got so carried away with knowing that they were going to pick. I've just equated Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence for so often right now that
it's synonymous at this point.
Yes, it felt very synonymous. But I would say that he's seen as the best prospect to come out since Andrew Luck. I think that is it's a great pick there. I think that Urban Meyer has decided on him. And we'll see how great he is. I definitely think that he is the biggest bet, the easiest bet. I don't think he has the highest ceiling, but for sure the right pick, especially with all the media pressure that's coming along with it.
Yeah, definitely. I think Urban Meyer chose to come back out of retirement once again for this opportunity to mold Trevor Lawrence into an NFL quarterback. So we're going to see how that goes down there on the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval County. Moving on to number 2, New York, the biggest market in the league. Everyone always talks about the New York market. You have to be a big player if you're going to be a quarterback in New York. And going big, going flashy with skill and talent and huge potential with a very questionable margin for error sometimes and some decision making, but he's electric. The New York Jets are going to go Zach Wilson from BYU. He's a great player. I think there's been a lot of hype around him in the upcoming weeks because he kind of has that Mahomes type electricity to him where he's not a pocket passer. He has the ability to do that, the big deep throw, and I've seen the throw from the pro day where he throws it across his body, running backwards around 55 yards, hits him right in the breadbasket. That's incredible. That's one of the best throws I've seen in a pro day. And Zach Wilson is just going to take over New York, hopefully by storm. They have a new regime in there. Robert Saleh, it seems like he's got a good system going, and he's a trusty man for the job. He's been trying to get a head coaching job for a time now, and I think he's the man to turn it around up in New York.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. When I was referring to the highest ceiling, I think Zach Wilson does. I think that there's a little bit too much hype going on him initially because I mean he is kind of a boomer bust prospect. While he does have the great arm, there could be some drawbacks in his decision making and drawbacks when he's actually pressured. He wasn't pressured too much in college, and he did deal with the pressure well. But um, when you're in a weaker conference, it's you have to balance the competition level and the prospects. Uh, Actual just talents and skills would he be able to overcome that and like put him in those different positions in your mind theoretically and overall I think that yeah he's definitely the number two off the board and everyone's putting him there. I don't think Fields or Mac Jones or Trey Lance are better than him in terms of the highest ceiling. Maybe they have higher floors, but it's to be seen. But that's my thought on it. So I'm going to move on to number three, my bad. Number three, San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of hype for Mac Jones here. I understand where it comes from the Shanahan type quarterback with Schaub, Cousins, Garoppolo, and Matt Ryan. But I
Boring
mean,
white guy, you mean?
maybe I just think just because he went like that in the past doesn't mean he's going to decide that as a head coach. Um, so I mean, the extra things you can do with Justin Fields, although he may be less accurate than Mac Jones and sometimes may have poorer decision making than Mac Jones. I think that with what he was working with at Ohio State, which was very talented, but it wasn't, you don't hear any receivers that are going to be immediate first round picks, at least this draft. I think there was one that is going to be maybe considered next year. There's a little bit of buzz on him for next year, but in terms of Justin Field, I mean, he's got great leg movement and he does have an arm. To my knowledge, he has a little bit of accuracy issues, but I think that he's a better fit at number three, especially with the run game and how Shanahan will be able to use that with his run game designs. I think that he is definitely should be selected third in the draft.
Wow. Okay. So I think Fields is actually, especially on the move, one of the more accurate passers. I think Mac Jones. I don't buy any hype on Mac Jones. I'm not sure where this is coming from. All reports recently, from that of Adam Schefter saying himself he would be shocked if he doesn't get taken with the third pick in the draft. I think Mac Jones did well. He also threw to Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, had Najee Harris there. It's a little ridiculous. I think he's worse than Tua was coming out, and everyone for some reason thinks that Tua is a bad NFL player. I I really like Justin Fields. I think he, for me, has the highest floor by far. Is potentially the most competitive. It's something you can't really measure, but I think he is a tangible uh, need to win and a drive that I don't see in as powerfully as in the others. I really like Justin Fields. I like this pick because I like Justin Fields more than any other quarterback in this draft. But I think that there's a little bit of hate coming out now that could be potentially through conspiracy theory. I'm not sure, but every day he was number two up until the draft until a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden Zach Wilson took over. So I'm not entirely sure where all this is all of a sudden coming from right before the draft, not months before, not years before. But we're going to move on to number four with the Atlanta Falcons, and this is where the draft gets interesting. We know quarterbacks are going 1 through 3. So what is Atlanta going to do? What I ultimately think is going to happen, I think that the Patriots are going to make a move into the top 10. And if it's not the Lions, I think the Falcons are ripe for the trade situation here. So I think there will be a trades here at 4 and at 7, realistically, in order to jump teams like the Broncos. But I think here at the Atlanta Falcons, you realize your situation and you just want to go best player available. And you draft Kyle Pitts from Florida, tight end, who is widely regarded as a top 2 player in this draft. He is he's most commonly referred to as a new age Darren Waller, which is one of the top 3 tight ends in the league. And tight ends being such a top heavy position in the NFL, if you have the opportunity to grab someone who could join those ranks and will likely join those ranks of such an incredibly high floor, yet still the biggest potential of any player, can be a superstar and will likely be a very impactful starter very soon, especially on a pass-heavy offense like the Falcons, with new offensive-minded head coach in the building. I think that's a match made in heaven, and the Atlanta Falcons could turn everything around either through trade or selecting Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. In terms of a trade, I could actually see the Broncos moving down, especially if the 49ers do go Mac Jones. So, there's talk about them going Mac Jones. If they end up doing Mac Jones and Justin Fields is still available, I can see the Broncos moving up to 4. They have the least amount of way to go, and it's probably going to be the best value for the Falcons. They can probably get a really, really good player at 9 compared to like 15 when you mentioned the Patriots. So I could see the Broncos making a move there. And but overall, yeah, no, Kyle Pitts is widely considered a can't miss prospect. There's reason to believe that's true based on how he lined up and what conference he played in, and how he performed overall. It's kind of hard to think that he's not going to at least perform decently well at the next level, if not be a superstar. So crazy draft measurables or pro day measurables too. Next we have the Bengals, and there was a point in time that I was thinking today, that they may go. I mean, I think they're definitely going to go a tackle here. They definitely need to protect Joe Burrow. I was going to go possibly with Slater or Sewell. I think that with Slater, if they're looking for someone who's going to perform earlier but have a lower ceiling, someone who's going to have an immediate impact compared to an impact a little bit further down the road with Sewell, he's someone that you're going to need to develop a little more than someone who has all the technical stuff down like Slater. But I think they go Sewell here because he just has a higher ceiling, and you want to draft. If you're drafting this high, you want to get something that's special and not something that's just going to be good. I mean, top 5 pick is a long-term pick. It is not a short-term solution. So with that being said, they go Sewell at 5, and a monstrous body, massive, and yeah, not much more to say about him. So
I think at some point during your discussion regarding this pick, you had flipped Slater and Sewell, and you weren't, and I'm not recording, but you could see my jaw dropping to the floor out of confusion and disgust.
no, I knew I was going to go Sewell, but I did consider when we were preparing to have Slater there.
Sewell is the correct choice.
Yeah, well,
I think some point
reasons.
during your discussion, you flipped the names, which is what I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and which is what I'm referring to. Sewell is by far the number 1 lineman choice in this draft. Sewell has all the intangibles you need to be successful at the position. Rashawn Slater, who will likely end up being a guard, in my opinion, and depending on the situation he goes to. I think he fits better at guard, but he definitely can do tackle if it's the right type of scheme and everything. But Sewell's prototypical. Sewell is the Trevor Lawrence of tackles. He won, I forget, it's like the Ottoman Award, something like that, for best lineman. One of the youngest people to do that, first Oregon player to do that. He's somewhat of a prodigy, somewhat to speak, in the lineman field. He has everything you would want: size, length, strength. Sewell, in my opinion, is a can't miss prospect, even more so than Kyle Pitts, in my opinion. He's not flashy, obviously, as a left tackle, but never once have you ever put on a Sewell tape and gone and started questioning what happened on the play. One of the biggest notifiers of whether or not a player on the line is doing well is if you don't notice them on film, or if the only time you ever notice them it's because the person they're playing against is flying the opposite direction or on the ground. And you constantly find that with Sewell. He's great hand placement, great punch and flexibility. I really, really, really like Sewell, and I think that pairing him up and give Joe Burrow some protection he can rely on for the rest of his career, I think that's going to be perfect for them moving forward, stride and stride. With that, we are going to go to number 6 in the Miami Dolphins, and they have, through their trade bonanza from 3 to 12 to 6, they were hedging their bets on getting either Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase, and here they do end up getting Jamar Chase from LSU. One of the best college wide receivers we ever seen. He had, and I don't have stats in front of me. I think he had 20 touchdowns in one season as a 19-year-old, which is absurd and ridiculous during the Joe Burrow season. And he did so well to the point where he decided it would be a good opportunity for him to not play the 2020 season and opt out, which is benefited some and hurt others throughout this year, and I don't think it changed his stock at all, really. He's maintained a top 5 player status in the draft. He is a top 5 player. He's coming in at 6 to the Miami Dolphins to go with the Tua tirade that they're going to start down there. I think Tua is going to be the future, and pairing him up with such a quality wide receiver in oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Jamar Chase, who has been likened to Devontae Adams. Recently, I saw something where he's like a smaller, slightly faster AJ Brown, and that mold of a wide receiver where they can dominate and they can take control themselves is very beneficial for a Miami team who's looking to compete in an AFC East, which has the Bills who are going crazy and the Patriots who are looking to rebuild after their 1 year off, and then also the Jets, who could become a great team as well with a high-powered offense. They've made a lot of great moves. A lot of moves have been made in the AFC East. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Matt, you have any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I think with Parker, and they just got Fuller, and now and here in our draft they get Chase. I think that that's a perfect fit there. It allows Tua to have the best chance to succeed. I know that you're a big Tua guy and you don't understand the hate for him. For me, I look at this and I'm like, he has 3 great weapons at wide receiver now. Let's see if he pans out. Let's see if he succeeds. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with this pick. Again, if you're picking this high, you're looking for someone who's going to affect your organization long term. And that's why for number 7 with the Detroit Lions, I'm going to go Devontae Smith. I think that he is the second best receiver. And sorry, I was typing that in so I didn't forget. Devontae Smith is just people say he's undersized. I don't disagree with that. He is bigger than Hollywood Brown coming out of college, and I've seen when Hollywood Brown wants to play. Okay, this is not that funny. So I see when Hollywood Brown wants to play, he's really able to play. And this is a better Hollywood Brown by a lot. So with that being said, I think that he can definitely succeed in the NFL. He doesn't play small. He is incredibly tough. He is great after the catch vision, and he's willing to take big hits when they're when they're actually able to hit him. He's very elusive once he has the ball in his hands. So I think that they go with Devontae Smith. They need a wide receiver. And any thoughts, Christian? What do you think?
Yeah, I like that you don't go quarterback here. I think Jared Goff has gotten somewhat of a short end of a stick in recent years. He's still a great player. He's good. He's not great. I'll give him that. He has some struggles, and there's a reason he was traded out of LA. But I think in Detroit, he's going to be very serviceable. I think pairing him up with a receiver with the quality and caliber of Devontae Smith is very good. The only thing I would argue you on is if he's number 2 or 3 receiver. I think Jalen Waddle has greater potential. I think far too often we see players the mold of Devontae Smith come into the NFL and struggle to translate their speed. Tavon Austin to be a great example of that. Someone who is equally as destructive and demonstrative in the college years and getting Tavon almost winning the Heisman and Devontae Smith winning the Heisman, displaying their ability to just be incredible playmakers constantly. I think the speed catches up a little bit with him in the NFL potentially, he can easily prove me wrong. I don't think he's going to be bad by any means, but I don't think he's going to have the same sort of impact that he did. Obviously, he's going to be a rookie in the NFL, but I think that there's going to be a difference felt when in the level of play that he's going to deliver, and I think he'll be a very serviceable player. But for some reason, I just don't feel that he's going to light up the world as everyone thinks he's going to. But with that, I'm going to go to 8 with Carolina Panthers. And going quarterback here about 4 days ago would have been a very good idea. But now they have traded a couple seconds and thirds for Sam Darnold of the Jets. So I am no longer in the persuasion that the Carolina Panthers are in the quarterback market for this draft. So here's where I'm going to give them Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle. The school he goes to escapes me at this moment. It's purple.
I think it's Northwestern.
I think it's Northwestern, but I didn't want to be wrong. He is an athletic specimen. He's very moldable. You can make him whichever position you want. I believe the Carolina Panthers have a decent left tackle in place. He's getting older, but they can put Rashawn Slater in at right and have him fill in. And then whenever that tackle leaves, they can push him back over to left, or they can have him run in at guard. He's someone who can really be a Swiss Army knife of the line position. He has some crazy immeasurables and speeds when it comes to his testing and pro days. They got him really big. I've seen a video of him squatting, and it's just absolutely ridiculous for someone who looks like the guy who sings Chocolate Rain. I really like Rashawn Slater. I think he is the number 2 lineman prospect in the draft, and I think the Carolina Panthers get a bookend and a stalwart for their line for the next 10 years with whoever they maintain as quarterback.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I'm just going to go. I don't have anything else to add, honestly. So I'm just going to go to the Broncos. I also really focus on them because they can go many different directions here. I think that they could go quarterback. I think that they could go cornerback. I think that they can go offensive line. If you didn't pick Slater here, Slater might have gone here for them. So I think I'm going to go Surtain. I think that they ride with Luck for another year. Let him come back with Cortland Sutton being healthy, and the other 2.5 year develop. See if he can do anything with those weapons. I think quarterback is their only real need, but we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see what happens in the future. I think they could also go linebacker here. I also think that's not a terrible pick, but Surtain is the pretty much consensus number 1 corner. Jaycee Horn is sometimes up there. He's a little bit too handsy, which is his major drawback. But for Surtain, there's not much to complain about. He's been a true number 1 corner for most of his career at Alabama, and matches up very well against with the current size and speed of what you really want to see in a cornerback. So I think that they just kind of go a mixture of need and best player available for their particular needs. So, yep. What do you think on this pick, Christian?
I am a little bit stunned. I have to be completely honest with you. I thought this was a fairly case in point Micah Parsons from Penn State. He, in my opinion, is best player available at a position of need. And you can cite character concerns all you want, but Vic Fangio runs a pretty tight ship over there. You have left me scrambling for my Dallas Cowboys pick. If I were to be Jerry Jones, I would be blindsided by this selection. Not to say that it's a bad one. It's just one that I would not have seen coming. So if you were to give me a moment, I think I need to briefly gather more information about the Dallas Cowboys selection and come back to you.
I'll just talk about why I think that I didn't. Micah Parsons was one of the things I was citing character concerns. I think that there is a lot of really good edge rushers in this. I think Kwity Paye, Micah Parsons. I also think, or not Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is an edge rusher, but as well as who's the guy from? Do you know who I'm talking about here, right?
What?
Notre Dame. I can't think of his name.
I can't say his name. If you'd like
Something.
me to read it out for you, I can do that.
Yeah, will
But
you read it out slowly for me so I can remember what it is?
is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yes, him. I think that he could totally go there as well. I think he fits well in Fangio's defense. But I just didn't. I thought it was too high to pick him, and with the concerns around Micah Parsons, we've seen with characters like Alden Smith, and people who typically have character concerns in general in the NFL. I think when you're picking this high, which we're getting out of this range, when you're picking this high, you need to pick someone that you know is going to have a long-term impact. And I think someone like Patrick Surtain is going to have a long-term impact, and it's kind of a need uh, for them. And he has a year to grow underneath Kyle Fuller and their other cornerback as a third or fourth cornerback. So it's a pretty good situation as well. So.
Yeah, okay. So with that, I think the Cowboys' hand is forced a little bit, and they're going to be forced to potentially a little early, and they might want to trade out of this position um, after Surtain goes this early. But I would go for the Cowboys with Jaycee Horn. Caleb Farley is a better prospect, but the Cowboys are looking for someone they can count on and immediately deliver. I think Caleb Farley is great, but recently having that back surgery is going to drop him down a lot in the draft. So I'm just going to give them another great cornerback that they definitely are going to be going towards in the draft as their biggest need. I thought about going Parsons here, but the immediate need at cornerback is just much more dramatic for the Cowboys than any other position, in my opinion. You could argue defensive line. I don't really have any players I would put this high in the draft on a defensive line front. So that's where I'm going to go. You have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they also could have gone Jaylean Phillips. I think if he didn't have injury concerns, he would easily be a top 10 pick, if not higher, top 5 in terms of his talent level. But with those injury concerns, I think the Cowboys could take a flyer on him. They definitely need help on defense. And if he does pan out, they've really fixed a lot of the problems on their defense. But I think Jaycee Horn's a great pick here. I mean, he's big and physical. He tends to draw a lot of penalties, but that's something that he would draw a lot of penalties, but that's something that can be corrected in the NFL. And it's not like the Cowboys are in a win right now sort of situation. They have a year or two to try and figure it out before they're going to start needing to actually start winning major games and stuff. So he's got time to learn and grow. I like Jaycee Horn here.
Yeah, that
Next,
is good. The only thing I would comment there is Jaylean Phillips. We'll probably talk about him in a little bit, but it's just tough. I don't see any edge rusher or defensive lineman that breaks out and fills a mold of a top 15 selection. We can talk about that more, but it's so interesting to get the different opinions. But I'll let you move on to
yeah,
number 11. And
the New York Football Giants. So they have a lot of ways to go here. They can triple down a wide receiver and get Jalen Waddle, which I don't think is a terrible pick for them. They could go offensive line again. They could get an edge rusher. There's definitely a lot of things they could do here that would be beneficial for their team. I think Jaycee Horn would have been a good pick here if I didn't mess up what we've done earlier. But I think the Giants will go. Oh, now I'm all sort of discombobulated. I guess with a quick pick, I will. I think they take a flyer on Jaylean Phillips. And the reason I say that is because I don't really know, besides edge, what the Giants' needs are. They have a decent tight end. They have a good set of wide receivers, good group. They have a quarterback who's he's kind of in that gray area. Hey, let's see if he pans out. You're still giving Daniel Jones a chance. He's shown flashes that he can be good, but you don't really know. And in terms of defense, they have good cornerbacks. I don't see a cornerback that you really want to pick this high. Maybe Farley, but with his injury concerns, I don't even know if I want to touch that. Believe they have pretty good safeties, but again, safety's way too early for this sort of pick. They could go Micah Parson, but I think that their middle linebacking group, from my knowledge, and their interior defensive line is very good. So I think their one need is edge, And why not go get the edge with the highest potential in a situation where it's not a win now situation? So, with that being said, I think Jaylean Phillips' work here. I know that you said you didn't see any edge rushers with top 15 potential, but I think Jaylean Phillips definitely does. He is a massive freak athlete and a pure edge rusher.
Yeah, I think Jaylean Phillips he's in my eyes the most talented of the edge rushers in this draft. My biggest concerns are selecting someone who's retired within the last 2 years. I know that there's a lot of politics that went into that retirement from football, but that's not who I would want to hedge my bets on with a first round pick, especially seeing how that works out for an organization in my Titans lensed eyes with our first round draft pick who's no longer in the NFL after playing 4 snaps and getting pancaked on one of them. So it's basically 3, but he did bad, so it's 2. Yeah, Jaylean Phillips, I think edge is their biggest need along with like tight end, and I think linebacker would be a great selection here too. They don't have a very concrete linebacking core along with cornerback, but it's primarily defense that they're looking at there. But the Jaylean Phillips pick is a good one, I think. Talent wise, he has the reason to be here. I'm scared to select him. I hope it works out for him because he has a lot of potential. He can be an immediate impact player. Uh, Again, the only issue I ever had with him was those injuries. So with that, I would have probably gone my favorite draft. My favorite edge would be Azeez Ojulari from Georgia, because I think he's relatively similar in production value, um, without the scary injury concern. But good pick overall. So now I'm going to move on to the same division. We're going to go down to Philly, who were part of that big Miami Dolphins San Francisco 49ers trade. And we are going to get the man falling in the draft, Jalen Waddle. The Eagles are very bad at wide receiver. They have been for a long time. It's a joke at this point, and I think Waddle is a home run at 12. Um, it was tough to see him slip out of the top 10 in my opinion, since I think he potentially is a better wide receiver than Jamar Chase. I still think Jamar Chase is the number one prospect, but I think Waddle can have a huge career. Everyone always looks for that next Tyreek Hill type player. I think this is the closest we're ever going to get. Well, not ever, potentially, but the closest we have right now to someone who can completely reshape the scheme of an offense around their ability to impact the plays vertically, laterally, everything. I think Jalen Waddle would have won the Heisman this year should he not miss, and I think that injury bumps him down a little bit in the draft here. The Eagles, who welcome him with open arms and reunite him with Jalen Hurts, and they'll give Jalen Hurts truly a trial to see if he's going to be their guy, and then they can reevaluate the quarterback position later years, should it not work out now. But they need someone to throw the ball to in order to be actually tell if Jalen Hurts is going to be the future. So that's why they're going to prioritize going after a weapon, and a huge weapon in that, in round 1.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick there. Obviously, they need wide receivers. Uh, so I mean, it just makes sense. I think that they could go maybe offensive line here, or they could also go cornerback. But I think right now none of the cornerbacks that are available are good enough for what they're really looking for, and it's too early for a safety in my opinion. So that being said, I think that the Los Angeles Chargers, picking at 13, go Vera Tucker, Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC, I believe. Has played guard, has played tackle, and basically he has a lot of versatility on the line. I think that he is the the perfect pick for them out of everyone. I believe that they have needs at cornerback. I'll actually take a quick look at that. I know that they've lost a decent amount in their secondary. Apparently not safety, edge, offensive tackle. They did lose Melvin Ingram, so they could go edge here, maybe someone like Kwity Paye. But I think that they're gonna take the best available weapon to, or best available prospect to protect. Uh, why am I blanking his name? Justin Herbert. So they're gonna protect Justin Herbert here. I like this pick a lot. I think that he has a very high ceiling and is going to be a good guard slash tackle, even if he has to play tackle this year, or maybe guard this year. Wherever they need to put him on the line, except for center, I think he's going to succeed. So that being said, Christian, what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. The Chargers definitely do need somebody on the line. Um, I would have personally gone with Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. He's much more of a tackle, which is what I think the Chargers are lacking in right now. Vera Tucker is a very versatile player. He can do whatever they will end up needing. But I think on the line specifically, this high in the draft, you want someone who's kind of a master of one, not a jack of all type deal. And I think Christian Darrisaw would be that solution for them. Uh, Vera Tucker's great player, great hands, great feet, um, good speed and quickness to his play. But I think will likely end up in somewhat of an interior position. He can end up at tackle. But overall, just I think on the board, offensive lineman is a good pick for the Chargers here. So, and moving on from that, we move on to the Vikings, who, in my eyes, are a very difficult team to draft for. I'm not entirely sure where I would land the selection outside of a cornerback. So I think that they are going to either go with an edge here or going to try to jump for Caleb Farley. And I think they'll end up going for Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think there's some ties there that could carry over, and he's a very boomer bust type edge where he had ton of pressures but no sacks. I think pairing him up with Danielle Hunter and other players on that defense will allow him to shine. Somewhat of a Bud Dupree, TJ Watt type deal where Bud Dupree would get a lot of sacks that would come off of TJ Watt's pressures and vice versa. I think he fits very well into that defense. That's what they're looking to improve. And yeah, do you have anything to say about that pick there?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, especially given that they are now down an ex-rookie corner from last season because he decided to, domestically abuse his girlfriend or something.
I have missed what is this?
Who did they pick last year out of TCU? Their corner they picked is had a domestic violence charge that he turned himself in for. I think it's a
Oh, no
third-degree
way.
felony. So now they don't have a corner anymore. I'm assuming that if he's not, actually getting in real legal trouble, then he is going to be suspended very
Jeff
swiftly. So,
Gladney.
yes, Gladney. So
Oh,
they could definitely use a corner here. I agree. I don't see Caleb Farley going in the first round at all. I just think the injury concerns are just way too high. As a Ravens fan, I know that we have a really talented corner in Jimmy Smith, who's always hurt. So I mean, I'd rather have someone who's available at this pick than someone who's likely not going to be hurt himself in an off season where uh, he didn't even play for the season. So he was just training for the draft and hurt himself. So that's really concerning in terms of his body's resistance to injury. So I would definitely
yeah.
not take Farley here. I think that they do need a corner, and I think across from Danielle Hunter would Kwity Paye is again a phenomenal pass rusher, has just a freak. So yeah, I think I really like that pick.
Yeah,
So
I think with my new information regarding Jeff Gladney that I had just completely missed, I probably would have gone cornerback here. We'll keep it the same just for continuity's sake. But not having a very large question mark at corner. I know they have Patrick Peterson coming in, so it's not as dramatic. Um, I think they will ultimately potentially try to trade down if this is how the draft plays out and try to land Newsom or somebody later on for a better value. But just seeing this new news about Jeff Gladney really puts a exclamation point right next to the cornerback position for them. So thank you for letting me know that.
now you do. Now I get one of the more fun picks in the draft at 15. I definitely think the Patriots go. If two quarterbacks are available, I definitely think they get their pick. Um, and I'm not exactly sure who I want to go here. I didn't think that it would fall this way. So, in all honesty, uh,
This has been a very unique mock draft where we still have two quarterbacks left available at 15.
yeah, I think trade ups would alleviate some of this weirdness. And I think the quarterbacks are probably going to go top 10, if not top 12, the very early or very latest. But I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Trey Lance here. Kind of. I know a lot of people would assume that it would not be Trey Lance, it would be Mac Jones. He fits the Tom Brady mold, and they're looking for their next Tom Brady and all that other stuff. But they have Cam Newton there, an MVP old MVP, someone who has a lot of experience in a running offense. They have started to tailor their offense towards a running offense with uh, the two tight ends they brought in and the type of wide receiver they brought in. So I mean, they're already headed in that direction. Why not just go all the way and get a new, fresh? Trey Lance has been seen as akin to Cam Newton, maybe a little bit of a faster Cam Newton, less of a bulldozer. But if you could have a Cam Newton training a Cam Newton 2.0, I think that's a great opportunity to take advantage of. And I definitely think Trey Lance has all the tools in order to be a top quarterback in the league and is a steal at 15.
Yeah, this is unfortunate that the Patriots do end up landing Trey Lance, who it's always very interesting grading players that come from the FBS and the different conferences and divisions. And it's weird to note that North Dakota State can always churn out these prospects, but their rival in the what am I think conference is it? No, whatever the JMU also plays in. JMU can't produce any prospects, but North Dakota State can grind out 2 potential first round picks this year. It's very interesting, but he's incredible. I would say ceiling. He's a very high ceiling, but a relatively low floor. I think Trey Lance could do great in a system, but could also ultimately trip and fall and never truly be a great impactful player. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He does some good reads. He's very quick on his feet. Scored quite a lot. He's a very similar mold to that of Cam Newton, and I think that pairing him up with Cam as a mentor role for a year would be great for his development. And with the Patriots in a trusted organization to develop quarterbacks, he could end up being one of the greatest of this draft and potentially the greatest of them all. And it's just a perfect situation that's fallen to his lap at 15. Bill Belichick just sits there and laughs as we take random people ahead of him, and he's like, "Sure, I'll take Trey Lance." But going to move on to the Cardinals. Very interesting pick here. I think I'm going to stop the slide, and I'm going to pick Micah Parsons here. I think he's incredibly talented. He can do anything you need to do on a defense, which is the weak part of the Cardinals' scheme. Their team overall, they have a rifle on offense. They're going to put up tons of points. The only thing that stops them from winning games is their defense, and I think getting someone who you can count on to lead that defense for many years, who has a mean streak, has a good football attitude on the field, to keep that going. I think Micah Parsons fits in very well with this sort of culture that they're going to try to bring into Arizona with a great leader already in place like J.J. Watt, who can minimize any character concerns that anyone has at the beginning.
Yeah, I actually got a little bit confused that I was picking for the Cardinals, so I was like, I do not know who to pick here. So I think at that point, I think it's late enough in the draft where you can forego some character concerns and really look at the prospects' production and skills in the field. So yeah, no, I think that's a perfect pick of Parsons there. That's probably who I would have picked. I was getting kind of stressed. I was like, I do not know who to pick here. There's not a lot of options.
I know this draft has fallen in a very strange way, but I like it. It's fun. It's interesting. It's invigorating to see the differences that we've come up with and the pressure we can place upon one another when we go unexpectedly.
Yeah, I think this is another tough pick with the Raiders. I think that they've kind of destroyed their line for the most part over this offseason. So I'm gonna go Darrisaw here. I think it's time for him to come off the board. So again, I think you've already gone a little bit into him. Just he's one of the best highest floors in the draft. So he's definitely a really good offensive lineman, and he belongs to 17. So Christian, the offensive line guru, tell us more.
Hi. I think Darrisaw is a great prospect. He has a lot of, I would say, like B plus attributes. He's not your stalwart that you're gonna get in Sewell. He's not the athletic guru that is Slater, but he's my number 3 tackle. I think he's very good. He's checks all the boxes from like size, length, and mobility. Um, it's just very he's just very slightly behind when it comes to being overpowering, being incredibly quick. But he doesn't do anything poorly, in my opinion. He's very well rounded. Once he gets into a starting role and keep going, he's going to be standout. But I just think he's just a little bit behind everyone else. So I think that taking Darrisaw here to the Raiders to protect Derek Carr and the team the rest of the way they're going that's an alley oop. I think it's easy for Gruden and Mayock to select this player. I don't really have anything to say negative about him he's just not overwhelmingly awesome. He's very good. It's a solid pick. With that, I think I'm going to go fairly interesting here with 18. And Mac Jones. No, I'm not going Mac Jones. I'm going Najee Harris. Running back Alabama. We're going running back early because of how drastically that is a need for the Miami Dolphins. They need weapons on that team so they can properly evaluate their quarterback. And they do that in getting someone who can be an every down back who isn't a robot in the receiving game and can contribute very well and rounds out their offense and gives them a little bit more reliability in the backfield because they've had interns back there taking snaps and doing fairly well. So they just need someone who can take ownership of the role and improve day to day. And that will be the man from Alabama.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised you didn't go Ojulari or Rousseau here. I think that they would have been 2 really good picks. But I think that I'm probably getting one of the steals of the draft here at Mac Jones. I know that you don't love him, but I know a lot of people that do. I think that he, although playing, he played with similar players that Tua
This
played
is to
with.
the Washington football team, by the way.
Oh, 19 Washington football team. Apologize. The football team's getting a steal here. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick. They are obviously he's not a long term solution, and he's going to go from one Alabama quarterback to another, and we like to attack Mac Jones for he is the offense he played it. That's why he played so well. And I mean I think he played pretty well in comparison to how Tua played. And I personally think that he may be better than Tua. We'll have to see when they both hit the scene. I think that they're both going to be in really good situations next year, no matter what happens. So we'll definitely see who pans out to be the better quarterback. But I think the knock that he played on with good weapons is the same knock you could have given Tua or Joe Burrow or a lot of really good, highly touted quarterbacks when they come out. So. With that being said, I think Mac Jones at 19 is a really good pick for the football team. They need someone fresh to come in there, and all the counts show that Mac Jones is a hard worker, and in a specific offense, he can excel at a high level. So, with that being said,
and the Chicago Bears kicked themselves for the chance to get a top 5 quarterback prospect going right before their eyes at 19 when they pick at 20. Mac Jones, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's all right. I know he's incredibly intelligent, and that will lend him towards a path of success in the NFL. But in my perspective, I didn't see anything that would merit him being selected above any other quarterback. So I think this is a reasonable place for him. I think it's a good fit for him. They have a lot of brooding talent in Washington. They can turn everything around as soon as they get someone in the quarterback position who can deliver quality results. So this could be Mac Jones. He could have a Kirk Cousins-like career there. And I think that's a very good comparison for who he is. So I think that they might just be getting a younger Kirk Cousins. But hey, whatever works for you. And with Mac Jones coming off the board right before the Bears, who are looking drastically for some sort of help in the quarterback position, They also really badly need a lineman. And I think the Bears have a reputation for being a little nitty gritty, for being a rough team that likes to control the game through the trenches. And they'll go Tevin Jenkins, a nasty tackle out of Oklahoma State. He played right guard, left tackle, and right tackle during his time at Oklahoma State. Played a lot of games. Um, and I really think that he's going to fit in well with this team. I think if he doesn't end up taking the left tackle spot, he'll be starting somewhere. So you're drafting an assured starter at one of your positions at 20 in Tevin Jenkins, which is something the Bears really need, is just offensive line help. Whoever ends up throwing the ball for them will be helped by Tevin Jenkins. He's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker, in my opinion. He's somewhat not top heavy, but he does finish very well, but he can sometimes go a little too far on a run block, and something that you can't get that same grit out of a pass block that you can a run block. So I think he has a little bit more passion for his run blocking than his pass block. But overall, he's still great, and he's going to fit very well with their running scheme as well, with David Montgomery. So I'm going to move on from that, Pat.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset. I was going to have the Colts take an offensive tackle, that specific one. So this seems like about a good spot for him. He probably wouldn't have fallen much further. So I can't agree more with that pick. But at 21, we're going to go with the Colts. And their biggest needs, according to the draftnetwork.com. Shout out the draftnetwork.com. They say the biggest need is offensive tackle, cornerback, and wide receiver. I don't see any of those three positions that are going to be high enough to pick here. I personally think, after doing our Edge podcast, think that they need an edge. So here, I believe I'm going to go. Let's see. I'm in between Rousseau and Ojulari.
If you would like my input, I would go Ojulari.
And I was actually about to say Rousseau. So I'm going to go Rousseau to spite you.
Okay.
So yeah, Rousseau has had a bunch of sacks and was a really, really good player in 2019. Took the year off, but I think he's a big disruptor. Has a high motor and will do well with the Colts, especially with their star-studded defense. I wish they probably could have gotten a cornerback here. I know that's probably one of the biggest needs for them, but alas, they get a good pass rusher. So
yeah, I think Rousseau is a good player. He's fairly new to the whole defensive line world because I believe he used to be a wide receiver recently. He is incredibly athletically built. He's a specimen to look at, but I think he's incredibly raw. And I think if you're going to go in the first round for someone at such a crucial position like the Colts, who are relatively win now, you want someone who's a bigger impact player immediately, which is why I wouldn't go Rousseau. Rousseau, I think, could be one of the better edges of the draft in many years from now, but I think right now, Ojulari would have been a better pick. But that being said, I think I'm going to move on to 22 and the Tennessee Titans. And I'm torn here because Azeez Ojulari has fallen to 22. In my eyes, that is a fall. But due to the recent signing of Bud Dupree, I can't have the Titans take Azeez Ojulari. So I will, in fact, be going with Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota to the Tennessee Titans. I think he fills a very glaring wide receiver need immediately. I think he's a hand-in-glove fit for the offense the Titans like to run. He has the speed and ability to take the top off of a defense, and that's going to be paired with new addition Josh Reynolds from the Rams as well. But he's incredibly complimentary in the way he plays to A.J. Brown, who is more of a bully type. But Bateman doing a lot of great. He attacks the ball very well when he goes to catch it. He's incredibly tough for someone who's relatively small. But I have, and he's a good slot player as well. I know he doesn't only play slot, but I think he's incredibly well meshed for the Titans offense and exactly what they need to take them over the hump. Losing Corey Davis into making him a featured receiver, give him a little bit more of room to run on the offense. I'm really happy with this pick. Love Rashad Bateman. I think he's going to do great things on the Tennessee Titan offense.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a good pick there, especially because you guys have like no wide receivers on your roster. So it's great to get one in the draft, and especially one like Bateman, who is going to be very happy playing in that sort of offense. So with pick 23, the New York Jets are going to select the best player available in my eyes, which is a middle linebacker who is a very versatile player, and Korama, something like that. His long name that is really hard to pronounce and stuff. Let's see. Let me give it a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. There we go.
There you go.
When I see the whole name, I can say it. But if I'm just looking at the Owusu-Koramoah, again, a very kind of, I would say, similar to like a Patrick Queen build. Definitely like your smaller linebacker, borderline like super strong safety. Super big, strong safety. But again, he's going to be a good edge or a good middle linebacker. He's great in coverage. And I know Notre Dame asked him to do a lot of things. They manned him up with tight ends. They manned him up with wide receivers. And overall, he produced fairly well. He's a very fast player on film. So I'm very happy with this pick at here for the Jets. They have all the needs. So I mean, I don't think they can go wrong with selecting best player available here.
Yeah, I think getting someone who can take control of a defense that's gonna over the years be very beneficial for the Jets. I'm not sure if he's gonna end up taking a true green dot linebacker controlling the defense, but he's definitely a tone setter. He's your Jamal Adams, he's your Isaiah Simmons player who can do a whole facet and myriad of things on a defense, but will consistently provide pressure and pursuit to the ball. I think he's a great player. I think there's a lot of players that I feel are worthy of higher selections in this draft, but I think there's just a lot of top 30 picks, and then in my eyes, it drops off right after that. I think this is a great pick, and with that, I'm going to move on to the Steelers, who, in my eyes, have a very difficult selection here. Again, I would probably trade back if I were them, but seeing their recent removal of Steven Nelson from the team, I'm going to go No, I'm not going to go Greg Newsom. I'm going to go Caleb Farley here. I think that the Steelers are willing to work over any miscomings that he has with his injuries. I think that they're not as win now as they would like to think they are, and they recognize that, and they know that soon they're going to have to move on from Big Ben and make some changes and get someone who, in the long run, is going to be a good cornerback for them for many years. And I think Caleb Farley has the opportunity to do that. I think the Steelers can afford to take this somewhat of a gamble on this player, and we'll take Caleb Farley, rehab him, make sure he's the best he can be, and put him out there on the field.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of your thought. I think that they should probably go running back there. I think that this is a win now year. I can't remember exactly what's going on with James Conner. They have Benny Snell, who's their hard hitter in the running back, and I think someone like Etienne would be great here because he is your fast sprint through the hole sort of running back. So I definitely think they could have gone with a running back here, but I don't hate the Caleb Farley pick. They've always been a decent defensive-minded team, and if he's able to get healthy, he is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, it could be great, but I'll add one thing. I really thought about taking Etienne here, but I just feel that the running back talent can be found in the second round, and the Steelers may move around to try to get back up to get one of the top 3 or 4 running backs in the draft, because I think the 2 through 4 field is relatively similar in my eyes. And I think Etienne would be great on this team. I just think that they potentially value some of the later picks that they could use on a running back rather than their original one. So I'll hand it back to you, and you can talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. You've gotten twice today.
I know. I have another dumpster fire organization. So best player available. I think that they're gonna go cornerback here. Um, I don't know. I, I see. I would give them edge here, but they already have um the guy Clavon Chason, and they have Josh Allen as their two primary edge rushers right now. I don't know if they want to dip back in the first round for someone like that again. Um, but I think Ojulari would be a good pick here. But I want to go corner with them here. I think that will fill some of their bigger needs immediately, and actually give Chason a chance to develop next to Josh Allen. So, with that being said, they could also go Barmore here. I wouldn't hate Barmore here, but actually, I am gonna go Ojulari. I'm gonna go Ojulari after
Wow.
I was looking at it and I was like, they actually have who was their cornerback they picked last year? I keep on forgetting these names. There's so many names.
C.J. Henderson.
Yeah, they have Henderson, and then they got Shaquille Griffin, one of the Griffin brothers, the one with the hand. Shaquille Griffin from the Seahawks, and they signed him to a big deal. I think that they actually go Ojulari here and just strengthen that line, their pass rush. I think that he's the best player available right now.
That is formidable. Wow. 3 of them on one edge sequence. That is awesome for the Jags. I didn't see that coming since I don't view that position as a need for them, but I think at 25 you take best player available, and that's a very good selection. Did you want to speak on that more, or?
No, I'm not super familiar with Ojulari, so that's probably why I had him keep on falling, just because I'm not the most familiar with him to really get into that. So
Yeah, fair enough. I think he's incredibly pro ready in my opinion. He's very athletic. He's very reactive. Um, and I think that he'll do well. He can probably run around a little bit, not as just bookend edge, but potentially help out in some Swiss Army packages and be a shark on the defense. Uh, not so as much as like a Jamal Adams as previously mentioned, but I think he can do more than one thing, and I think that fits the Jags defense very well. They have a new scheme coming in, and someone like Ojulari who can provide a little bit of versatility will be welcomed, which leaves this Brown selection somewhat difficult, as I have been sniped once again for a team who dramatically needs an edge, and that is definitely their number one concern. So I'm going to look into my edge pool because I don't think they're going to get distracted by anyone else. I think they know what they want, know what they need, and go with who is typically the next on the board edge here, and that's Jayson Oweh from Penn State. He's fairly developmental in my eyes. I haven't seen a lot of him that would make me want to select him in the first round personally, but I think that the Browns kind of get their blinders on and they look down this path that they need to go down, and they take someone who has a lot who could become a very good player. And working alongside Myles Garrett, there's no better player in the league to work with to become good at a position than Myles Garrett. He's a great player. He's fast. He's quick around the edge. Yeah, it's a good fit. So I'm gonna hand it back over to you to talk about this, and then make your Ravens pick.
yeah, I mean it's kind of unfortunate that they get another edge rusher. It'd be nice for them if Koramoah was still on the board. They definitely need. I see their biggest need as a middle linebacker personally. I think they could do really well with one. I think that they suffered a lot of injuries last season with I believe Denzel Ward getting hurt, and their draft pick from LSU, their safety, never actually getting the chance to play, as well as getting the cornerback and safety from the Rams over on their team. I think that their defense is going to be much improved this season. I think that their one real missing piece is edge and mostly a middle linebacker. So yeah, I think Oweh is a great pick here. Kind of unfortunate that they get more weapons to improve an already great roster. But luckily they're the Browns, so here we are. So the Ravens, this is this is a really tough pick here. I think the Ravens would like to trade out of this pick. There isn't much that they can gain from being here. I think that they definitely go wide receiver or edge here. But given that all the wide receivers and edge rushers have disappeared, I think that they go Kadarius Toney. I think that this is he is mostly going to be a slot receiver, and if you remember, we had a hard push for Juju Smith-Dance-a-Lot, so it's kind of unfortunate.
Corvette.
It's kind of unfortunate that we don't have a better pick here, but it is what it is. If Phillip falls, I would love to see them get someone like Phillips. If Bateman falls, someone like Bateman. But I think the next best is a surefire slot receiver like Toney. Again, a smaller guy, but a very tough physical receiver. And with the loss of Willie Snead and our addition of Sammy Watkins on the outside, we have our 1-2, hopefully 3, as well as Duvernay mixed in there. So I like the pick of Toney here. I wouldn't be surprised if we trade out the first round if the board falls this way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A very exciting offense in Baltimore, and I think they just need one more reliable receiving threat to really take the edge off and take the top off defenses that face them. That while they still are able to produce very well, they're somewhat one-dimensional at this point. So I think getting someone who can, alleviate some of that pressure and they can redistribute the ball a little bit better and more reliably would be great for that team. I think at 28, the Saints, New Orleans Saints, with a little bit of quarterback situation going on there, aren't going to go a quarterback or anything like that. But I think they're very excited to be selecting Greg Newsom, cornerback out of Northwestern. He is probably my favorite cornerback in the draft. Really like his ball hawking ability. I think he's incredibly fun to watch. He's very instinctual. Like if you see the ball, he's probably right next to it. I really like Greg Newsom. I think he fits in very well on some team that doesn't have dire needs like the Saints, and will come in and make an immediate impact. And I don't have too much else to say. I think that's a home run for them at 28. I think that's great value. And I think that they're going to be, and especially in a division that has the Buccaneers and the Falcons and potentially the Panthers, who are going to be throwing the ball a lot. You have to keep up with that and make sure you don't cause any problems. They've recently lost Janoris Jenkins as well, so they have a need at cornerback. So I think this is all just fits well. It's a good handshake deal. Greg Newsom, come on over.
Yeah, I kind of got distracted while you were talking, in all honesty. Did you mention what's going on with their main cornerback, Lattimore?
Nope. Don't know
He
that
also
either.
he also got arrested. So
Oh, well, they definitely need cornerback then.
I don't actually know. It was like a week or two ago that it happened. I don't really know what happened, but it was like a destruction of property thing. He may get suspended. Who knows? But I think they go corner here either way. They're in kind of a situation where they're going to have to build through the draft.
Oh, arrested in Cleveland, charged with 4th-degree felony of receiving stolen firearm. Wow.
You're learning so much.
They should probably draft a cornerback. That's why I gave them Greg Newsom. I knew that the whole time. Now it's on to Matt to do the next pick in the draft. Thank you, Matt.
I was actually gonna start looking at Newsom here, and then you picked him, and I was like, well, no more Newsom. So I'm actually going to go Terence Marshall. A little early for him. Terrace Marshall. I don't actually know how to pronounce his name, but either way, I think that he goes here. He is going to be your medium to big wide receiver with not great hands, but could definitely grow and be in that wide receiver 2 role. Actually, a high talent level, and of course, Davante Adams is going to be covered with like 3 people. So he's really gonna have a lot of opportunities to shine. He's gonna have a great quarterback throwing him the ball. And I think this year that they don't go quarterback and they actually get a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. So this is who I see as the next best wide receiver. I think that they could probably go get some weapons on defense, but I just don't see any defender I really like right now. So
Yeah. Sorry, I had just briefly. I was researching for the pick. I think Terrace Marshall's a good pick here. I think that they put an end to the meme of not selecting any first round talent for Aaron Rodgers to throw with. I think that they are trying to eventually make the push to Jordan Love, and getting him some youth on that offense is a good idea. Terence Marshall, great player. Not as outstanding as Jamar Chase was by any means, but he's still very good. He's dynamic. Um, and in order to be at LSU, you have to be a good wide receiver. So he has it within his bones. It's, I think that he'll develop very well next to Devontae and Lazar and everyone else who has funny names in that team. But but I think it's a good pick. They could go offensive line here. There's a couple options that I would like, particularly Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame or the guy from North Dakota State. Um, but I do like finally selecting Aaron Rodgers in his last season with the Packers, a weapon, as sort of a fuck you present on the way out. And so next I'm going to move on to the Bills, and the Bills are in a very interesting situation here. You could go cornerback, you could go edge, and I'm looking at Eric Stokes from Georgia, and I'm not sold on him to the point that doesn't stop me from giving the Bills Travis Etienne from Clemson to finally get them a trustworthy running back on that team that is now moved from a traditionally defensive team to an offensive juggernaut and gives them a reliable option in the backfield. Zach Moss not cutting it for me. Devin Singletary not cutting it for me. Give me someone I can trust on every down. Give me someone who can, if Josh Allen's having a bad game, can pick up the slack. No one can do that yet. I think they explore some trade options with their current running backs on the team, and they give the ball to Travis Etienne, and they trust him, and they become even more of an electric offense.
yeah, I don't like that pick at all, but I think that they could do well with someone in their defensive line. I think that the running backs are fine. I think it's the amount of usage that the running backs are getting and more of like play calling than anything else. I think that they're both capable running backs. You just picked up Zach Moss last season, and the year before you picked up Singletary. So I can't see them going running back in the first round here, especially what you're saying with the depth and how they play the field. Yeah, I don't like it there, but it is what it is. And now I've been looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. What can you say about them? I don't know what they need. like like
They need linemen.
I don't think they need a defensive lineman, not in the
They
first
need
round.
offensive linemen. Did you watch the
They
Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's overblown.
That's not
Um,
overblown. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did, but they've already taken steps to start working on their offensive line.
Y-
I've thought about it. I am not too sure. I'm trying to see like a home run pick here. For them, like a steal. I'm not seeing one that I really like since they don't have any like super real needs as of right now. I mean, of course, you could say offensive tackle, but they've already taken steps to fix that. They have signed one of the Long brothers, and then they also signed, or they also had one of their guards who was building into a tackle last season kick out the tackle, and that's who their expected starter is as of right now. Um, I think it's tough. I want to give them a speedster wide receiver, but here's the problem: I don't remember which wide receiver is the physical freak. Is it Rondale Moore or Elijah Moore? And I can't remember which one it is.
Rondale Moore is your more speedy wide receiver.
So I'm gonna go Rondale Moore here. I know that he had injury concerns, and that's kind of why he's fallen how he has. But if there's one thing they like in receivers, it's speed. I can't imagine how unguardable this offense will be with Rondale Moore. And they can also there's for the quality of tackle they're going to get. That's someone they can get at the end of the second round, and have pretty much the same results. I think that there's going to the next big group of tackles are all rather similar, in my opinion. With all their different downfalls, they all have some major drawback to their games. Is not so it's again it's the B tier, but I think for Rondale Moore, I think that he is an athletic freak, and I think if there's one thing they value in wide receivers, it's speed. So I'm gonna go with Rondale Moore there.
Yeah, that's respectable. I would have personally definitely gone offensive tackle here. You have 3 to 4 good options in my eyes. Because I think that again, signing someone who recently retired and is aging at offensive tackle isn't going to bode well for them long term. They definitely want someone to pair with Patrick Mahomes over a long period of time. So if not this year, in the next 1 year, they will be drafting offensive tackle very high in a draft. I would have gone either Cosme from Texas or Ray Duns or Eichenberg from North Dakota and Notre Dame. Those are my next 3 on my offensive tackle. But I think Rondale Moore serves a good purpose. He is just another weapon for that arsenal. And at some point, like they're gonna have to start allowing defenses to have 15 people so we can cover the Chiefs, because it's getting ridiculous at that point. And adding someone with such explosiveness and speed as Rondale Moore would be almost arguably unfair. Hopefully, not selecting a tackle very early would allow edge rushers to create pressure, which doesn't allow them to get so open. However, we will move on to a team that created a lot of pressure against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The winners of the championship, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Gronkaneers, who don't really have any needs. They've re-signed all 22 of their starters except for Antonio Brown, and he is lobbying for him to be re-signed on their Instagram page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create depth for a position that is aging. Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, 2 great players, both getting older. So they need someone to pick up the slack whenever they eventually leave in the upcoming years. So I'm going to give them Christian Barmore from Alabama. He's the top defensive lineman I have left on the board. I think he fits in well with their scheme. He's a nasty player. He checks a lot of good boxes for that team overall, and I think he's going to fit in like a glove. He's going to learn behind 2 of the best in the league, and he's only going to get better with time.
Yeah, I agree with this pick. I probably would have gone interior defensive line here. Not much more you could say. There wasn't a lot of really good wide receivers that they could take. I will say Vita Vea is only 26, but aging nonetheless.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's 26.
Why do I think he's like 35?
I don't, because everyone else in that line is like 35. So
I truly was under the belief he was very old. Not very old, but older.
Yeah.
26. I'm almost the same age as Vita Vea.
You old man. All right. But yeah.
How did this happen?
I don't know. Here I am. I totally agree with that pick. So it's a good one. I think overall our draft is pretty good. There's some things that I would change in my picks, and I'm sure you feel the same way. But
I'm sorry, I'm just stuck on this Mandela effect I'm currently experiencing with Vita Vea, who has time traveled right before my eyes.
I don't think so.
He's done it.
Yeah,
but overall, I think it's a good draft. I'm scrolling through what we have. There's some question marks. Obviously, there's some there's home run picks. I had a great time. I'm really looking forward to our 4-man draft we have coming up in the next few weeks. Once we get a little bit more information on the players, on the teams, their needs, anything updated we want to come through. You have anything else you want to say to the people?
No, I think this has been a rather long one, a lot longer than I thought it would take. I thought this would be a little bit of a shorter one.
Oh, when you go through 32 things and you're interested about them, it'll go for a long time. So
that it will.
And I think it's been fun just to do a very quick recap. We obviously have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Justin Fields going to the 49ers. I'm going to go over some just interesting picks very quickly. We have the Falcons not trading out because we don't do trades in mock drafts because that's annoying. We have Surtain going to the Broncos. At 9, we have what was I going to say? Rashad Bateman ending up at 22 to the Titans. We have Gregory Rousseau ending up on the Colts, which I think could be potentially a little early, but we'll see. We have Mac Jones falling all the way from 3 to 19 to the Washington football team. We have the Bears taking a nasty offensive lineman, Tevin Jenkins. The Eagles getting their stalwart receiver, Jalen Waddle. And the Ravens, potentially, since we're not doing any trades, reaching a little bit for Kadarius Toney on and get a slot speedy receiver to help out their team. So I've had a great time with you, Matt. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to anything in the future. And we thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. And we'll see you next time.
All right, have a good one.
Bye. Boom, boom, clap. Boom, de clap, clap, boom, boom, clap.